Hi there, this is She Be Willing 18, sharing our trip tracker load analysis report part 2. A request was given to me by one of the BCOs at Landstar to do a full week view of how to be profitable at Landstar. So what I'm going to do is take you through what our week looked like on last week, which would have been the 12th, ending on the 18th. So we just got back into our home area. We're going to do a 34-hour reset. And here is what the numbers look like. So here's our trip tracker, the load analysis report that I talked about. This is basically how we keep up with everything that we do so that we don't get payday surprise, if you know what I mean. This way you make smart decisions on how to pick your loads and how to stay profitable, as I mentioned before. So this is our week at a glance. So we started out in Fort Worth, went to Henderson, Nevada on the 11th. And as you can see all the way across, it shows our pickup and drop off dates and times, live miles, deadhead miles, average miles for the load, 1249. The weight of the load, as you can see, colors change based on information entered. So 74 deadhead miles. I don't like to go over 50, so it kind of went in the neutral zone. Average miles, 1249. It is what it is. The weight of the load stayed green because it's under 40,000 pounds. Load type was preloaded. A fuel surcharge, you gave us that. This is what the surcharge is. Skimpy on the surcharge, but Landstar give great fuel discounts, which is part of that 35% that you offload to them. So it all balanced out. Now here it tells me based on the 325 per pump price that I'm going to spend 615, but they only gave me 462, so I'm in the negative 154. Again, with the fuel discount, it absorbed quite a bit of that, and we ended up being like $2 out of range. Line haul, 3127. Of that, it automatically deducts Landstar's 35%, which was 1,094. And this is what we took home, the 2033. And the other two columns is just team load and agent code, right? So then we returned from Henderson to Fort Worth on the 12th. And we started out, got back to Fort Worth on the 13th, same thing, same concept. Went from Fort Worth to Lancaster, Ohio, back from Lancaster, Ohio to Fort Worth, went over to Summerville, South Carolina on the 15th, and just got back today on the 16th at 6 o'clock this morning. So here's what's important. These loads obviously were picked, but what's important is to understand how you're making your money. 6,754 live miles, 74 deadhead miles, average miles was 5579. All that is fine and dandy. The weight, everything has been below like 25,000 pounds, so that's not a problem. We ran pretty good fuel efficiency. On fuel surcharge, we ended up with $2,174.25 in fuel surcharge, which wasn't bad because I have $696 left over after making all these runs. I don't have to keep up with the fuel costs for the trip, so I didn't do a running total on that, not necessary. Actual fuel costs, negative 727 if the fuel discount hadn't been in place. So in our case, we actually were up $690. Great fuel discount, given that you're giving Landstar 35%. So this is all our line haul. As you can see, only one is in the neutral zone because of the filter that I put in. Everything else is below what we would have liked to have made. So for the week, we ended up with $12,599.50. Of that, Landstar took 4,410 cents or $10, 44.10. So this is what we actually took home right here. This is our field, 8,190. That's typically where we end up for the week. Sometimes it's 9,000, sometimes it's 11,000. It just depends on the type of week that we have. Starting out with long runs, I always recommend it because you get stuck with these short runs like we did last week. It really throws off your running ability because you're spending a lot of time doing short runs, and then by the time you get to the real money, you're running on recaps. I don't do that anymore. So we took, as you can see, all our runs were over 1,000 miles one way. And so therefore we ended up with a fairly decent week of 81.90. So for the young lady who asked me to do a demonstration on how the trip tracker help you to see at a glance your profitability, this is how we do it. I hope that this has helped you. Hopefully it helped someone else out in the YouTube world. This is She Be Willing again. God bless and stay safe. There, this is She Be Willing 18 here today to give you real numbers, real world profitability running at Landstar as a BCO. So I am going to do a week at a glance per the request of a young lady who's a new BTO at Landstar, and she wanted to see what the numbers really mean and what they look like on the trip tracker load analysis report that I talked about on the 11th. So here we go. So based on what we ran as a team truck, it shows that we started out here in Fort Worth. We went over to Henderson, Nevada, and it shows your pickup day, drop off time, and whatnot. Live miles, what it is, deadhead miles. It's in yellow because I typically put a parameter in there that says anything over 50 miles is bad. Now, know that you will do more than 50. We will do more than 50, obviously, because we ran 74. If the money is right. Average miles per load was 1249. Weight was 17,200. It is green because we put in a parameter that anything over 30,000 pounds is kind of like only if the money is right. It's a preloaded trailer. Did a fuel surcharge take place? Yes. This is how much we got in fuel surcharge, 460.20. Now, per the parameters that are set up in this spreadsheet, it's going to automatically calculate the fuel at $3.25 a mile or per gallon, I'm sorry. And then based on the trip miles of 1249, it's coming up with $615 and some change, which is actual fuel costs. Now, keep in mind that this amount is before the Landstar fuel discount, which is a great discount because basically the fuel cost for the trip, actual fuel costs minus the 460.20 shows that we would have been in the negative, and we've never gone negative with that fuel discount. As a matter of fact, what has happened is we end up recouping some of the fuel money. Line haul, it paid $31.27. Automatically, the filter is set up to take that 35% out. This is what Landstar got on this particular load we ran. This left us with 2,033 for what goes to the truck. So as you can see, for the week, Henderson back to Fort Worth, same concept. It shows our running total. Fort Worth to Lancaster, Ohio, Lancaster, Ohio back to Fort Worth to Summerville, South Carolina, and Summerville back to Fort Worth. Now, this is where we ended our week. We just got in at 6 a.m. this morning. We're going to do a 34-hour reset. So now, taking a look at what we accomplished for the week, this is what I do when I get home. I want to see a recap of how did we run? Did we run profitable? Did we run okay? Or did we run not efficient? So this week we did decent. We did pretty good. We ran live miles 6,754. Deadhead miles were only 74 for the week. Average miles 5,579. On the weight, we've never carried anything over 22,000 pounds, so that's a plus. Saves on fuel, wear and tear on the truck. All our trailers were preloaded. Yay, love that. All loads came with the fuel surcharge. These were the fuel surcharges. Again, without that Landstar discount, we would have been in the negative. This is not enough fuel surcharge based on the calculation that I talked about in the previous video. So fuel costs for the trip, fuel costs over or under. So again, without that fuel discount that Landstar give you, we would have been in the negative $727.82, which would have come out of this line haul amount, right? So because of the fuel discount, we actually ended up saving $690. Still have that in available fuel money on our card. Landstar took their commission, $4,410. Ouch, but it is what it is. And our take home for the week was $8,190. We've done better, but not bad for a team truck for the week. So this is how we keep up with our money. This is how we will look at this, analyze what we did, how many miles we ran, what kind of money we made to determine if we want to continue with this same format for the upcoming week, or do we stay with what we have done. Now, the only thing that I will say working, as a team truck and even as a solo is you want to make sure that you're, again, running profitable. You want to always try and make sure that you have your return trip set up before you take off. Otherwise, you're just going to be chasing the road. You're never going to know where you stand or how you'll end up at the end of the week if you don't. So you may not have this. You can use pen and paper and a calculator, but have some kind of accounting system so that you know day by day, week by week, what you are making so that when tax season comes, you're not in for a surprise. Hope this helped. This is She Be Willing 18. God bless. Stay safe.